All right, we're live. We're recording. All right,
We're back. We did it. Number 2.
Number 2. Let's see how consistent we can stay with this.
Absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, quick recap of the last episode. We just kind of went into what we are basically what happened to the What's Good Tampa show, what got us here today. And we kind of teased we were going to talk a little bit about the origin stories today of what's going on, maybe provide some value as well as far as like what got us to this point, kind of the decisions we made, and maybe some other people are on the fence about making some of those same type of decisions, that this could give them the push they need to move forward, hopefully.
Or teach them not to do it.
Yeah, exactly. How did you think the first one went?
I think the first one went well. I mean, here's the thing. We're kind of learning as we go as well. This is completely different. Doing 2.5 years of a different kind of podcast, makes it a little bit different, but I think we both enjoy this. And this is one of those things that we're completely engulfed in every day. So, when we were having fun the last one, I still think it would be fun once a month to do a What's Good Tampa show. I have some ideas about that, but for a different place and a different time. But I think this is going to be definitely value of people that watch. I think we're going to give a lot more. And here, like I said last time, this is people that are at the beginning, middle, or end of many businesses. We'll get into you as well. This new thing you're doing, or this thing I'm doing. This is one of the things that we do, but it's it's probably our most prosperous ventures, I guess.
Yeah, totally. Well, cool. Well, let's just go ahead and dive right in then.
Okay.
So first, I want to talk a little bit about the decision, like not to go back to corporate America.
Well, that's the one thing I wanted to do is I wanted to ask you a question too. Was there something specifically, because we had talked about it for literally since you've had long hair, that, I kind of, in my weird nature saying like, just do it on your own, just do it on your own. You're like, yeah, that's easy for you to say and blah, 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 even though it's not easy for me to say. But what was there like something that was like a last straw for you other than getting fired or let go or whatever you wanted to call that? I know you were, was that almost the push that you needed? Because I believe everything happens for a reason. I believe that, everything comes together and we are where we're supposed to be. Do you think that was it not even the last straw, but was it like, okay, now I either go get a new job and do this all over again, or I start my own. If I don't do it now, I'll never do it.
Yeah, well, let's be clear. I was let go, not fired. There is a difference between the two.
Tell me the difference. I'm confused.
Well, the difference being let go doesn't necessarily mean you did something wrong to cause them to make you exit the company.
Oh, right.
It was a financial decision, but being fired, usually you've done something wrong and they let you
go. Yeah. I wasn't trying to say that for sure.
But anyway, so, I guess to answer your question, it was kind of like, I'm 42 at this point, not getting any younger, unfortunately. The clock keeps going the other direction. So for me, it was always just kind of like, at least when I was let go, the question became in my head, like, do I try something now? Or if I don't, at this point, I probably never will.
Right.
And, I figured I could either have two stories. I could have a story about how I tried, or I would just have an excuse on why I never did. Right. So for me, it was kind of the decision of going, well, if I don't do it now, like you said, I'm never going to do it. So
the question I would have is, did you know what you were going to do? Like, did you have the idea of I'm going to make a protein gummy, or was it like, I know I'm going to go on my own. I've thought about this for a long time. Like, how did that work? Were you already starting in getting prepared for this day prior, or was this like, okay, now that's over, it's time to move on and I want to do this?
No, I honestly didn't really have any idea what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do something on my own, and protein gummies was not the answer at first. At first I was thinking, well, I'm good at making video and content, things like that. So I figured maybe I would try a video business. I started that for a little bit and I was actually doing pretty well. But then for me, it all became down to like, and I wasn't really enjoying it like I thought I would. It's different when you're playing with your camera for fun, and then when it becomes an actual job and you've got 100%. People relying on you, and their lead volume is based on your performance and things like that. So, I kind of mentioned this in the last episode, but I've always had that feeling in the back of my head, like through my marketing background, if I had a product or something to sell on my own, I could do it. And that's kind of where I got the idea of like, well, what product could I release? And fitness has become like a big part of my life over like the last year. It's always been in my life, but you're
just saying you wanted to like, almost you wanted to make it a bigger part of your life.
Yeah, or just kind of get back into it. I started, again, I've always been like a workout type of person, but over the last couple of years, it's just kind of been more on the back burner. And then when my wedding was coming up, I wanted to get in the best shape I could for my wedding, of course. And then
Okay.
that kind of basically consumed me and got me back into getting healthy, fitness and everything, stop the alcohol, stop all that partying, stuff like that, and just kind of focus on my health. And then that's kind of what led me into the, shred gummy side of it, is like, what if I did something in that industry, that I would enjoy doing? What kind of product in that industry I could sell? So that's kind of how that got started.
Very cool. Now, here's the question. When you decided, okay, I'm going to do shred gummies, like when you make that decision, you're now newly married, you have parents, you have siblings. Was your family like, go for it, Austin? Were they like, what are you doing again?
Yeah, I tend to keep a lot of that stuff like to myself. Like I don't tell everybody what I'm doing initially, because like I'm always afraid that their outside opinions will affect my judgment. So,
and that's one thing you'll learn through business. You got to get rid of immediately.
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of think like, well, if they don't like, I just don't want outside sources to affect what I do. And if I don't have their opinion, then I'm just going to move forward regardless. If I have my parents telling me like this is a bad idea, then I'm going to second guess myself. So
really,
I don't know, what are your feelings on that? Because I'm one of those people, like I said, like I prefer to keep my goals to myself and not tell anyone about it because of that reason. But other people say, tell everyone about your goals because then you feel accountable.
Yeah. So for me, even when I was in, if you want to call it corporate America, for that 8-year stint since I was in college, because that's the only real corporate America I've ever been in, I did exactly that. Even when my superiors were not feeling it, I was like, okay. And if I'm against this and I'm not going to let you affect me, in a negative way, because you're saying, don't do it this way, do it this way, because it's tried and true and proven, even to my fault sometimes, I'm like, listen, if somebody gives me an opinion that I can see that side of it, yes. But if I can't see the side of it, I'm going to go with what I can, because here's the thing. Those people you're talking about that can change your opinion, they are not getting on that bull with you. They are not going to be in that arena when you're riding that bull and going through all of it. So why would you take somebody's, 2 cents when, first of all, they don't even have a 2 cents in that industry. They might not know nothing about it. So how can they have an opinion? Really what they're doing is, let's be clear, our siblings, our family, our loved ones, they want us to be okay. So like my parents, for instance, or your parents, they're going to say things to us because in their world, it was get a safe job, go to college, make it happen. These are back 35, 40 years ago. That was the safe call. Well, things have changed, as we know. So I'm not going to take an opinion from somebody that's coming from a completely different decade, era, and all of that, because they don't even know how to, get on the internet.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if they do, they're not good at it. So taking an opinion, it's not their fault either, by the way. It's not. It's they're very concerned with us being successful. And what I've noticed is, I heard some of that back in the day when I jumped in a car and drove 36 hours to my very first promotion. They're like, what are you even doing? Like, do you know this person? Like, no. And it was the most successful 3.5 years of my entire life. So like, the thing is, like, it's not just bull in a china shop. You have to take calculated risks, but those people are unwilling to take the risks with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually heard a good quote earlier today when I was on the treadmill, was basically like, never take advice from someone who hasn't been where you want to be.
Yep. And I got another one. I don't listen to quotes, unfortunately. I should more, but how about this? It's the reason why I don't take money. I've had so many people say like, hey, let's go in on this and like make it bigger, better and everything. No, because then your opinion, now that you have money vested, it's your opinion how it's the best way. And like, I'm the expert, or not even expert. Even if I'm not the expert, I'm the one that's give my blood, sweat, and tears, that sweat equity. When somebody comes in with money equity, in my opinion, they're protecting their money. And I'm not protecting anything. I'm going for everything. I want this thing to be a vision that I come up with. And by the way, my vision can change. And if it continues to be successful and unsuccessful, as you know, I have a couple things going right now, and it's changed 10 times. But it's always headed in the same direction. It's just how we get there. And there is decisions where, and sometimes it's tempting, where they're like, listen, let's do this right, the way they say right. And that's right for them because they want to get involved in something that I built from nothing 3 years later. Hey, let me get involved in. Hey, listen, by the way, that's awesome. I appreciate that. It's very flattering that they're like, I see huge potential in what's going on here. But even if it doesn't mean more money coming immediately, I just as soon stay on the path and not have other people get involved saying, well, I think we should do it this way. And remember, I gave you that 50,000. So it really is important that you listen to my information.
Yeah. So what I want to talk about that, like bootstrapping your business, because that's, basically what I've done as well. All the money that I've spent, has been mine. I haven't taken any outside money.
And you've spent some money.
And yeah, and some credit card debt or any of that stuff. So when you were starting your business, were you kind of intrigued or by the idea of taking outside capital, or was it just completely, I'm going to build it on my own, and for what reason?
Okay, so let me just give you, so we're going from graduating college, all the 3 businesses in between to starting my gym. I think we're going to talk about that. When I was in the gym industry, I was in the gym industry almost 20 years, well, 20 plus years technically. Since I was a teenager, I was, working in the gyms at the college I mentioned. But when you say bootstrapping, so here's the thing. I think even when I was working for somebody else, I was already in the business. So when you say like taking outside capital, sure, taking outside capital, if somebody said, hey, let's take this outside capital, build this thing. And by the way, I don't care. Your decisions, here's some money. Sure. But I'm a crazy person. So, what I do is like in the gym industry, when I left the major corporate America that I was with for 8 years in the gym industry, the largest, most profitable gym company in the world, still to this day, when I went to my own, I said, well, I know how to do X, Y, Z. I know the right people to bring in. I know how to sell gym memberships, build value, and sell personal training. And we did, before we even had the contract of the equipment, I did a trade out where I was going to build out the gym in this building, went to the owner of the building and said, listen, let's do a rent credit for 6 months. I'm not even going to open for the next 3 or 4 months because I don't have equipment yet. I'm going to do a pre-sale and I'm going to improve your building. So I negotiated this improvement. 50% of the rent was going to be alleviated. And there was, a number of things I was going to do to make his building much, much better. So it was better on his end. We did a 3-month pre-sale and raised enough money to do all the things we needed to do to get started. The down payment on the equipment, the hiring of the people. So that's the crazy part is like taking out outside capital is a great option. And by the way, I have one person, one of my best friends that went in with me as we started growing these buildings. We ended up with 3 gyms. And I'm sure if you search the internet, you can tell what happened there during COVID. We'll get into that. But I was all over the place for a while on the news. But yes, I took some outside capital for building. And this was a builder, best friend of mine. And it was awesome because it was like, yo, I don't know anything about the gym industry. You know what I mean? I just know that this is what you've done. And we've had over the years, we've had a ton of conversations about it. And it was one of those things where let me help you build instead of like, let's just hire this company and not to shot at you, but like, you're like, hey, I'm going to do it right from the scratch. I'm not going to negotiate. I'm just going to go out and search out and spend the money because this makes me feel better. For me, it was like, me, I'm going to find the best value for the lowest cost. And I did that even when I built out the 3 gyms. So, how do I feel about it? I hate it. I hate the idea of it. I don't want to ever take money ever again from anybody unless this is the one thing I would do. I would take money from somebody if they were as skilled or more skilled than me in the industry that we're going into. If they have sweat equity value, if they come on with me, absolutely we can do it.
Okay. Yeah.
How about you?
I'll get into that, but I want to talk to you about the decision to go into the gym business, and I'll lead with like part of my story as far as like why I went this decision, like this direction as well. Is one is like, what validation did you have to open up like 3 gyms in your area? Because like for me, like I said, I figured out I wanted to have some type of product in the wellness industry. Protein, I knew, was super huge right now. I mean, the protein industry has always been huge, but it's right now, especially with everybody on GLP-1s, like including myself, like protein is like more important than ever now. People are being told you need to get your protein in because you barely eat. You need to save the muscle that you have. Protein is like so important. So again, the industry always being huge, it's even like on a spike right now. So I knew protein could be a good option for me. I was looking for different types of protein instead of just your typical bars and, you know, protein powders and things like that. So that's when I kind of came into this gummy idea. I did research on the market. I realized there were some gummy proteins out there, but really not that many. So even though the protein market was huge, this little portion of the gummy protein market was still very small and new. Like when I go to these pop-ups and things, people are still saying to me like, oh, I've never heard of a protein gummy before.
Right.
Like it's still a new concept to them, but that still in my eyes was just words. It wasn't validation. So what I did was I created a small Facebook, Instagram ad campaign. I came up with the concept for the product way before I even had it. I came up with the name, just the idea, the vision, and I put it all into ChatGPT, my good friend ChatGPT. I had it basically create images like ads for me based on this idea that I had. And then for the next 2 to 3 months, I just ran these ads on Facebook and Instagram with no product. I haven't spent any money yet, simply just spending money on the ads. And the next thing I know, like I'm getting hundreds of people every day sending me their email, their phone number, basically saying, hey, I want this product, or I want to be told when this product is available. So at that point, once I've had almost, 10,000 people sign up for this, I felt I then had the validation to go ahead and I'm going to move forward with this. I'm going to spend the money on the, product itself and everything else, the website, building everything out, all the costs that came into it. So for me, that was the validation in a very saturated market, right? Protein. But for you, I'm curious, what was your validation to say?
Well, my validation is since I was 15 years old, I've only been in the gym industry and every single part of the gym industry forever, whether I was with, like I said, the largest gym company in the entire world or traveling all across the country promoting gyms. I was always very successful. I was, out competing and outdoing my peers, if you will, and not to be cocky or anything. I kept being successful and kept making it happen, and honestly learned on the job. I probably have some God-given stuff that just to build relationships with people. Again, not being cocky at all. Just if anybody's ever met me, I really take personal relationships at the top priority for me. So my validation was if I believe in myself, everything else will take care of itself. Exact opposite of you, be honest with you. Even when I opened my gyms, I never spent $1 on an ad on a social media in my life. Right. Not until recently, actually, because of another situation I'm having now, where I have like cities in Tampa that say, "Hey, we're going to run these ads and we're going to pay for them." So, like, I personally have never run an ad with my own money.
Yeah, but so what city was it in or town you were in when you launched your first gym?
I moved back up north to a city, near where I'm from in the Northeast in the state of Vermont, the second largest city in the state of Vermont. So under 17,000 people. And you want to know something crazy? The week I got there, I find out an Anytime Fitness is moving in 3 to 4 miles down the street from me and has a grand opening like 3 weeks before mine. An Anytime Fitness.
Well, did that freak you out?
Oh, no, excited because now I know this guy's a super rich kid. Grandfather's like, hey, what do you want? Young kid. And I talked to him. He actually came into my pre-sale. And once I had one conversation with him, I'm like, this is amazing. He's going to run all this marketing about a gym. And now there's a competitor opening down the street and they're going to learn about it. And so I just grew, marketed, met as many starts in the businesses, obviously, because I'm not going to knock on people's private homes, but everybody is linked to the businesses in a small town around and word gets out. So I was like super excited because I'm like, this is sweet because now they have to make a true decision. Now they're going to take 800-900 people that are going to be members there. But in my mind, I was like, okay, but I don't have to worry about that because the health and fitness industry is now going to blow up in this little ass city. And I just saw, me, glass half full. I always see everything as a advantage, not a disadvantage.
Yeah, well, that's a great point. So you kind of used their marketing and their hype that they were
100%.
building to help your
Yes.
business grow, which is great.
Yes.
And
And
that's
I
the
knew
thing
how to
too.
run a gym and he didn't.
Right. And that's the other thing too about, I was just talking about saturated markets is like sometimes I believe that the saturated market is kind of the best market to be in because the
100%.
consumer already knows your product. They know what it's about. They know what it does, so
They
you're
know
not
your
having to
competitors.
yeah, so you don't have to educate them, which is a huge step in the process. If you're creating something completely new from scratch that nobody's heard of, you have to go through that whole education process usually before you can even get them to purchase. So sometimes being in a saturated market is the best market. Before you got in there and before this LA Fitness, were there other gyms in that area? Or I mean, it sounds like a really small town.
Anytime Fitness.
70.
Yeah, there was one big gym that had like racquetball and basketball and stuff, and then there was like little gyms at like base lodges of a ski resort or just like nothing major. And the city is definitely not growing. It's actually losing. It's probably lost a net amount of people in the 10 years that I prior and going back to there. So yeah, everything read this shouldn't work. And then within those 3 years, I built 3 of them, 3 gyms.
Yeah. And so you had how many signups before you opened?
We raised about 125,000 in gross in 3 months from memberships and personal training.
Wow. So that all before you even opened the doors, and you used
before
that
we
money
even
to fund the equipment and the rent.
Yep, we used that money for the down payment of the equipment. I've already had the rent pushed out 6 months because I did that negotiation. So yeah, and then the only other one is, like I said, I had my best friend. He came in and took on some of the costs of the building, where I don't know, ripping down all the ceilings got ripped down. We ended up having like 30-foot ceilings. I went straight to the top. And lighting and fans and like construction stuff. But it was awesome because we had already raised that money anyway. So it was really just longevity, because really what that did was it pushed us to number 2, which pushed us to number 3. And inside of 3 years, we had 3 locations within a 15-mile radius.
Wow. Okay. And so
in an oversaturated, tiny little, city.
Yeah. So 125 grand through in memberships of a gym you didn't even have launched yet. How do you convince people to sign up for something that doesn't exist?
Well, you don't convince. You build value on health and wellness. It's just what you're doing. So that's the thing here too, is a lot of people, I know you're going through it right now and you probably haven't been in the world of sales. You're more in the world of marketing. But remember, sales is not a greasy, grimy thing. Now, in gym memberships and car sales, they always say, if you convince them to do something they weren't ready to do that day, they somehow think that's sleazy or, not loyal to the people that you're doing that. But in a small, remember, this is my hometown. So everybody knew me, knew my family. My mother worked for me at the gym. And so like, you got to understand that, like, with my brother and I playing sports in that city, like, people knew who we were. And so like, for me, it was like, okay, this is what I've been doing the last 15 years, moving out of this small town in Vermont. And now I'm back because, I had a small family. I wanted to, go back to my hometown until I just couldn't deal with the freezing. Well, actually, I was dealing with the freezing cold. It's not fun, to be honest. I'm happy to be back in the South, but, it was much different. You're not convincing them to do it. You're just building value into something new. And a lot of people, I still remain this to be true, is, if you can get, 60, 70, 80% of your membership, not the couch potato market, but like the not bodybuilders. Like, you don't want huge bodybuilders throwing around your shit. They can go to the CrossFits and stuff. You want people that maybe are 3, 4, 5 years outside of working out, and you want to give them assistance to get them in the best version of themselves they've been in the last decade. So that's why you do it, because they never even thought about it until they walked through that door. And then they started saying, wow, just like you said, I can do this. I don't need a corporate job anymore. I can do it on my own. These people are like, I don't need to feel stressed when I'm getting down playing with my grandkids, because I can make myself feel brand new compared to the last 10 years. So what did I do? I just built value, and I gave people a reason to get in the best shape in their last 10 years.
Yeah, you mentioned something earlier. That's a term I think in the marketing world you don't really hear anymore, which is guerrilla marketing.
Yeah.
You
The
know,
only reason I say that too is like, it's just how many people can you meet? And listen, you know me, we're going to get into this one of these episodes, and I think it should be a full episode. You're very tech savvy, very AI. That's the future. I am on the exact opposite way. I think not only is it not the future, I think in 5 or 6 years, it's going to be nothing. It's going to be fake. I think it's going to harm people. They're going to spend a ton of money on this thing. And just mark my words, next 10 years, within the next decade, AI is going to be an afterthought. I don't think it's going to work.
wow,
I
you
don't
really
think it
think so?
works now. Yeah. I don't think it works now. I don't think it works any better than meeting somebody in person. And, the campaign I'm about to launch for my art business. And that's where I am now. We're talking about my past, but I'm going to go completely technology. Yes, we'll still, be on the social medias a little bit, but like really just as a business card. That's what it's going to be, I think. I think AI is just going to be like a shitty TV ad that you see all the time. It's just going to be a billboard, and it's a mini billboard, but it's not going to sell anything. It's not even going to drive traffic, I don't even think. I think, especially in a saturated market, it's just going to be an afterthought. I truly believe that, and I'm giving everything to VTech.
Okay. Well, I definitely think we should save that for another episode, because that could be a whole episode in itself.
100%.
I obviously feel quite different, but
Yep.
but anyway, so moving away from that. So once you've opened these gyms, just give me an idea, like what was the membership cost around?
So a membership up there is about $50 a month. Personal training just depends on how many times. So sessions would be 30-minute sessions, between 35 a session and 50 a session, just depending on how frequent you do it and the length of term. You get to about 800 members. That was the sweet spot for us, which isn't that many, but it is. It's very good. Yeah. I actually did a really good deal for my founding members. It was like $350 up front, and they would pay $20 a month for life instead of the $50 a month. And that was great. That raised our capital up front, because they said, hey, I'm going to be here. I'm not going to stop going to the gym anytime soon. And they said, well, I'm willing to spend the money, because in 18 months, we're basically breaking even. And then I'm saving $30 a month every month for the rest of my life. So again, building value in the founding members. And those founding members not only buy training and stay with you because you get good trainers and you train and develop the best people in that small area. You also, you start partnering with their businesses, and you start having a full-on human relationship with these people.
Right. Where we live now, Tampa, I mean, there is obviously a very, healthy wellness, fitness type of community. I mean, we're a great place for that. There's new gyms basically opening up like every week somewhere.
But you know why that is, right?
No, tell me.
Because a lot of gyms are closing every week.
Why is
That's
that?
why. Well, two things. Number one, if you don't know how to run a facility long term, your equipment is eventually going to break down. When you don't have the money to repair the equipment or buy new equipment because you're just holding on, which 95% of all gym owners are, once that happens, some new guy has new equipment and new stuff, the water table, the water massagers and the tanning. Once you have a brand new tanning booth or a 3 or 4-year-old tanning booth and the price is the same, you're gone. Crunch Fitness has made a living out of it. LA Fitness is shutting down gyms that were full service gyms because $10 a month they can't compete with anymore because the equipment's aged. So they're opening all the time because they're closing all the time.
Yeah, well,
and a lot of people just think like, oh, it's because it's health and wellness. No, in 10 years, EOS is going to be gone.
You're kind of going into answering the question I was going to ask, which was when you started these gyms, because I feel like, again, a lot of people want to open gyms these days. What were some of the things that like you didn't expect were going to be problems that became problems?
Well, problems in a small town, they become like very catty. So for instance, like one thing I would say that's a problem, the biggest problem, honestly, is if you have dead weight on your staff. So if I had at my peak like 25 employees, you can't have an aerobics instructor habitually showing up late. Now they can be the best trainer, the best whatever, but over time, remember, if you have somebody in a year contract going 3 times a month for personal training and your personal trainer has a terrible, personality, you can't teach personality. The reason that they're having us sell their personal training, and this is a shot at, unfortunately, a lot of personas like, why do they get all this money and I get this? That happened a lot, in the company I worked for before. It's like, yeah, but dude, you're not even selling your personal training. You're being given somebody to train. Yes, it's your job to keep them in there, but you're not the one that built the value for personal training. Somebody else did. And now your job is to train them properly. And you're getting, in my opinion, those people for not having to do the groundwork or starting their own business. But what happens is over 2 and 3 years, they're like, I can do this on my own. It's like, you weren't saying that when you got 210 clients last week because we sold training. So the biggest problem is always the employees that are like, for instance, 1099. So they're working for themselves, but you're giving them, you're allowing them to have clients, because then they just start talking to their clients, obviously, and it starts going through the like. It didn't happen really at my place, but it happened in the company where they're training under the table and they get fired and blah, 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 blah. But you know what? Every single time they do that, they come back 3 years later. Sorry, I didn't mean to leave, whatever. And it's because they can't hold that business. It takes a business to run that. So, it's the billing. It's all the other things that these training clients need, not just the session. So the hardest thing I think was to keep those people on track. And the way to do it is multiple training and development classes, 3 times a week. Keep that education high, keep them doing as good as they can do. But you can only keep them for so long, honestly. And because everybody gets in their feels and says, why are they getting this percentage? It's like, because it's our equipment, it's our rent, it's our electricity, it's everything except teaching them how many reps.
Yeah. And they say most of the time, typically starting a business, it's like 3 to 5 years, I think it is, before you actually become profitable. Were you profitable from the beginning, or did you have to go through that 3 to 5 years?
So I guess it's how you define profitable. Like, so for instance, on my equipment lease, I decided to do a 3-year instead of a 6-year. So I'm paying way more per month. But I mean, on paper, profitable, absolutely, right away. First year, right away.
You were paying yourself right out of the gate.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm paying myself a bonus too. Yeah. My accountant would be like, okay, you got to do X, Y, Z, and like he would like kind of, because for me working for somebody else, but again as a 1099, like I was doing my own thing, but it's like this company that does the billing and X, Y, Z. So you kind of learn all that, but like I was profitable the first week because I had nothing. I wasn't paying for anything, and I was selling.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So, and then opposite, and what it brings to like what you did is like, in your mind, starting this business was probably like, okay, this is going to be an upfront cost. This is what businesses do. And I just never thought like that.
Yeah.
If I wasn't getting paid the first week, I wasn't doing it.
Well, I would say that story is unique. Not most starting out
maybe
businesses have that.
Maybe I don't know. I meet a lot of people that do a lot of events, like in the art world. When I go to these shows and stuff, these people that set up a tent, you're doing it now. I think that they just made catnip mats and they started selling them. So I don't think there was a lot of upfront cost in that business. And they do 6 or 7.
When you're making art, when you're making something yourself, instead of buying actual products, that's
100%. But remember, in the gym business, the only thing you're really buying is people's time, because you have employees and equipment. That's it. It's a service.
Yeah. So when did it come to your mind that you should open another one and then a third one? As soon as humanly possible. I was thinking about it the first week we opened. You always had the idea of having multiples.
100%. It's the only way. Like, and in that business, training is the key. That's the profit. Did that
training add like additional challenges, or was it all the same challenges from the first one, just magnified?
The only challenges is the people. And, I love my trainers and I gave them as much as I could, but in the end, you're not around them. They're doing a job and it gets monotonous at times. And it's human nature. Once you get to a certain point, you're like, I'm doing the same thing. What I thought was awesome 2 years ago, I could do this on my own. So like you change the mindset. Mm-hmm. So that was the only struggle. But by the way, it's not a struggle though, because there's always other people that want that opportunity. And those people that stayed with that opportunity and kept it, they were the ones that flourished the most.
Right. So we've got the 3 gyms open at this point. Then the next thing that comes along in the story, and so we're already past that 30-minute mark. So I don't know if you want to save this for another one, or if you want to get.
I want to save COVID. Like I told you, I wanted to just give you the whole thing, but then everything's running great, and a staple in the society doing. We bring the kids in, we do a turf field, and we do all the sports teams from the local high schools. It was amazing, just such a service to the community. And then one day somebody decides they're going to play God at the top of the food chain in the government of Vermont. And well, the rest is history, and we'll have to put up some clips of me on the evening news every night when we get to that one. But that I think should be the next one of like how I went to becoming an artist. But before we go, I want to spend about 5 or 6 minutes on you, because what I just said, I think you have a completely different opposite thing. So I just want to like recap real quick. So you leave what you were doing, you get married, you find out shred gummies is what you want to do. You did a little bit of the editing and film. You figured out that's not what you do, but shred gummies alone. What is the first step you do after you know what you want to do? Let's just say you order the product or get, the product made and everything like that. But like when you're going to launch, give me that like 10-minute section of like from it's an idea to it's launching to you're running the business. What are some of the things that you ran into like, oh, I wasn't prepared for this, or hey, this is awesome, I see this really working?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, the very first thing I did once I had the idea is what I mentioned earlier. Is I just tried to figure out how I could validate it, that if people would even want a protein gummy in the first place, which was basically running those ads I was talking about on Meta. Once those I saw were working, then I was like, next step is finding a manufacturer who can formulate the product. So I did a lot of research on that, looked up different protein gummy, or basically gummy manufacturers all over the state, out of the country, in the country, basically all over the place. I knew what I wanted as far as like macros go. I wanted them to have, at least 15 grams of protein. I wanted it to stay around that 100-calorie mark, and I wanted to have it no sugar if possible, because those are the things like I look for in like protein snacks. So I had an idea of what I wanted. So I would go to the manufacturer saying, can you develop something like this? Once I found a few that did, the next step was just ordering samples. So we ordered a bunch of different samples, got them delivered, and basically narrowed it down to like our favorite 2. So we figured, what flavors would we want to start with? We just kind of made that decision on our own, strawberry and mango. And then once we picked the manufacturer, it was all just kind of like move forward from here. So we got the manufacturer, put our first order in, and then we focused on the branding. So we got a designer we hired through Fiverr to help build us basically a brand guide for everything from our fonts, our logos. I know this spending money, it just drives you crazy, but some people
I just like as an artist maybe. Yeah,
maybe, but that graphic design is certainly not my strong suit. So, we had someone build out the brand completely, the logo, the fonts,
Now,
the
what
voice.
does that cost?
That was probably like, I want to say around $200 to $300.
Oh, okay. Fiverr, go Fiverr.
Yeah, Fiverr is a great place to find some, inexpensive work done. So once we got the branding going, that's basically when I, started developing the website, the Shopify website, and building all that out. Basically getting everything ready for launch day. I changed the ads so I could get some profit up front to help pay for the inventory, allowing people to purchase reservations for the product. So they could basically spend $5 and they would be guaranteed, order in our first batch of product. That way I took all those $5 orders I got and just put them into paying the inventory. So similar to you, I kind of raised the money up front.
For sure. I love it.
As far as getting the products to us. So we had tons of $5 orders come in. And then basically from there, it was just getting our social media up, start posting content, getting people hyped, to keep building that email list and getting ready for launch day, which was on July 17th. So it was all just that type of preparation, getting things in order. And then once we launched, it's been pretty successful since. Still growing. Yesterday was our biggest day, which was great.
And what did you do yesterday?
So yesterday we did about 20 orders, a little over $1,000.
No, but like what was it? Was it from AI on the internet or was it people in person?
It was both, so we did a pop-up yesterday at F45 in New Tampa. We got probably about 12 orders or so from there, and then about another close to 10 online through the ads that we're running. So,
well, look at that. Non-AI relationship building made you more money than the computer.
Yeah, potentially yesterday for sure.
Hint, nudge, nudge. Now, maybe if you did that every day, don't you think that you would blow up even faster? Maybe.
I would love to do a pop-up every day. Yeah.
And here's the other thing of you too, is that I want to just make this quick thing. And this is actually a very I want to kind of like say this is very good about you. You're not a traditional salesperson. You've always been on the marketing side, but you're one of those people that can be taught little things, or not even taught. I think it's just instinctively to you, where you can sell through value because you're not trying to trick them. You're trying to share. And you're trying to like help them solve a problem. So I think you in person getting this out is going to far exceed. I mean, you just said it yourself, 12 orders from human beings, 10 orders from online. I believe the more time and the more people you meet, the quicker this business will grow. That's just my 2 cents, but what do I know?
No, I agree with you. I mean, we have pop-ups going every weekend for the next, 4 to 6 weeks. So that's great. And we're going to keep them coming as much as we can do them and get out in the community, get the product out there. I agree. It'll be beneficial. So we're also looking to get into more, distributors as well. So, and have them selling in local gyms. We're in a local market right here down the street in Seminole Heights. So we're doing the wholesale thing as well. So that's just kind of getting started now, but otherwise, yeah, man, I mean, I agree with you 100%. Just getting out there, getting your face out there, getting them sold, so.
And before we end the age-old question, I'll answer it myself as well. If you like, with the strife and trials and tribulations and where you are now trying to build back all the money you've spent, would you trade it in or would you have still done it? Would you be in court? Are you glad you made the decision?
Yes, I'm glad I made the decision. Again, the biggest thing I fear in life is being on my deathbed and just regretting, like never trying, so absolutely glad I made the decision. You have those moments and days where things are slower than, you want. And then you get down on yourself. I'm sure you have these moments too, where maybe you didn't sell a piece of art at a show
100%.
or something.
But you can't get down on yourself. It's almost blind faith. It's honestly like my Christian beliefs. Honestly, it's bigger than ourselves. And every time something gets down, it's supposed to be a negative thing. Like you said, taking opinions from other people. Honestly, though, my faith and my relationship with God says you're not having a good day today in sales because I have something even better for you in the future. So you don't get down on yourself. It's all part of it. And I'm excited about that every single day I wake up.
Yeah, I learned this about myself, and I'm going to say it out loud because I think other people probably suffer from the same thing. Is like, I'm very reactive on how I feel in the moment, and I forget about all I've accomplished, like to get this far in the first place, so I just think, oh, today was slow, so things suck, but I forget about how good yesterday was. You know what I mean?
And how good tomorrow is going to be.
Yeah, totally. So that's it, man. So yeah, I assume you're glad you did it because you've been doing it for a while. Stayed in entrepreneurship.
And not like you too. I didn't get fired, but I got sued and I won. And we'll get into that next one because I don't even know. I have to kind of read my what do you sign? The NDAs, non-disclosure, like certain things I think I can't say. So I'm actually going to call my lawyer. I haven't talked to her in a few years. She was somebody very high up in the state, and I'm going to see what I can and can't say. I'm not sure if it's been long enough where I can just say everything, but the next time we come back, you want to hear a story. I know everybody's forgetting about COVID, putting on the mask, taking the shots. That's all a thing of the past, but I want to bring people back to a time where tyranny was real, and it's not political, and it's not anything else. It's just men trying to become gods telling us what we can and can't do, and we're wrong the entire time. I mean, we just had the guy running that whole thing plead the fifth the entire time 152 times in Congress the other day, and that's not being political. That's just truth.
Yeah, that was crazy. All right,
no, that wasn't crazy. That's the reality. And episode 3, let's buckle up because I'm going to give you a full rendition of we don't hear about these lost small businesses that had family members that they tried to take away everything. I want to say lost everything because I didn't lose everything. They tried to take it away and failed. And those people have to be remembered. And those people should be like, we need to hear from those people.
Right. I agree. All right. Well, cool, man. Well, and give yourself a shout out how people will find you.
Vintage_gimmick on Instagram, the gimmick on Facebook, and come check me out, vintagegimmick.com.
All right, cool. And you can find me at Tampa's Life or at shredgummies, We'll see you guys up in episode 3 in just a few days here. All right. See ya.
Peace.